There, guys. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I call to order this meeting of USD 49 Board of Education for March 29th, 2021. It's 6:30 p.m. We have 6 board members here tonight. Board member Nichelle was unable to make it. She is not feeling well tonight. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Tonight's agenda is on board docs, which is a link for which is provided on the USD 49 website. I move to accept the agenda as written.
Second.
Then motion and a second. Do we have any discussion about the agenda itself?
Mr. President, are we going to have an executive session to talk about the directors like we did for the administrators, the principals? Like we had the information that's kind of private as far as the personnel on each of the directors?
Well, you know, I suppose we can. I just remember last time we had that discussion, it was basically the information we were given. It was, we didn't really need to have a behind the scenes, I don't think. What do you think, Ron? I mean, basically, you can tell us they're doing a great job, I presume.
I would concur, yes.
If we have concerns, is that something we would want to say in public?
No, you should probably have a meeting with the superintendent or the board president.
Yeah, I didn't know that there was any concern before tonight. So. Unless there's any other board members that want to hold an executive session, I think we just move forward as planned. Okay. Thanks for that discussion, though. That's good. Okay, all in favor of the agenda as printed, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5. Anybody abstaining? Nope. Okay, motion passes 5-1. Please vote electronically the same way. Oop. All right. Okay, consent agenda is up next. The consent agenda for tonight includes board meeting minutes for March 8th. Approval of the acceptance of 3 federal grants related to Head Start and Early Head Start. Self-assessment report and program evaluation plan from Early Childhood Connections. The Early Childhood Connections Director's Report for March and minutes from the February 22 meeting. Site Council minutes from Hayes Middle School and Wilson and Roosevelt Elementary. Personnel transactions and financial reports.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Tammy. Discussion? Anyone?
Are we able to discuss these items, or do we need to pull them out?
Well, we can discuss them. But actually, the point of an exec consent agenda is that there's routine items that we really don't need to go into a lot of detail on. But we are in discussion right now, so.
The site council minutes, can we pull those out, please?
I'm not amending my motion.
Okay.
This is ridiculous.
Mr. President, I believe anything in the consent agenda, a board member has the prerogative to pull it out. Is that how you perceive it?
That's the way consent agendas work. If you really want to pull them out, we'll pull them out.
You're supposed to, when you discuss them, you're supposed to pull them out to discuss them. So I have a suggestion or goes with it, so I'd like to discuss it.
All right, we'll move it to,
What do we do with the motion on the table, though?
well,
And how about in the future, if we have things in the consent agenda that need to be talked about, we talk about them before the meeting. That's the whole point of the consent agenda, instead of every meeting having to pull stuff out.
we'll move it down to, I guess we'll move it to reports and presentations.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. I do have some items on the personnel transactions. I want to thank Myrna LeCount and Chris Dinkle for their service to USD 49. We have 25 years of service as a GPS pair supervisor for Myrna and the industrial tech teacher for 25 years for Chris Dinkle. We also have some new hires. I want to welcome Kaden, Catherine, Courtney, Sabrina, Samantha, and Teresa aboard. Anyone else comments on personnel transactions or?
Yeah, I just wanted to recognize there was a couple of resignations of people that have been put in a lot of service to the district.
Okay.
Margaret Purdue at the Hayes Middle School. Vicki Unruh, one of the psychologists here, has put in a lot of years for our district in a lot of different positions, from school psych to the Head Start, helping with early connections with that. Maria Pilar Clark, a longtime custodian in the school district that has worked in several different buildings and done an outstanding job in all the buildings that she has been in. A big loss, Rebecca Fox, a school counselor that is leaving Lincoln. She has done an outstanding job just moving into that position also. So I know those are the ones that I really know a connection to, and I didn't want it to go by without recognizing them.
Very good, very good. I can't wait to get back to the point we can have actually celebrations again, or
Exactly.
the right term? I'm not sure. Dinners and whatnot? Okay. Okay, motion on the floor is to approve the consent agenda with one change, and there's been a second. Do I have a, let's call for a vote. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion passes 6-0. Please vote electronically the same way. Next up is recognitions. We have, Ron will want to do this one, I'm sure, so
Yeah,
I'll let you turn over to
run through
Ron.
these real fast. The many bad downsides of COVID, but probably one of the things for the board has been we've really limited recognitions.
Right.
And that's just because we don't want to bring a lot of people into the room. And so what we just have a lot of things, good things that have happened. We'll try to just highlight them. First one is the Tribe Broadcasting students for being awarded the following Kansas Association of Broadcast Awards. Radio Sports Play-by-Play. First was the Hayes High football versus skating Garrett Wellbrook for television. So
Congratulations.
Yeah. Got his ability to speak from his mom. How about that?
Thank you, thank you. Please put that in the minutes.
Promotional audio or video, first place, Hayes High School, Hayes High Indian Football, Ryan Shuckman. The complete newscast, 3 days a week or less, third place, Tribe Broadcasting Private News Team. The 60-second or less commercial, public service announcement or a non-commercial donor announcement. Third place, Hayes High School, Do Your Part and Mask Up, Ryan Shuckman and Grace Winty. We also want to recognize the Hayes High basketball team. They had a great season, and congrats to David Swartz, who was the WAC Player of the Year, Chase Lindenberg, Carson Kiefer, and TJ Nunnery for being selected for the all-league basketball teams. Our Hayes High School state wrestling team had an awesome season as well. Sarah Zimmerman placed second place. Harley Zimmerman took fourth place. Gavin Myers took sixth, and Sarah Zimmerman and Gavin Myers earned all-league honors. I will not read all the journalism awards, but I do want to recognize our first place, Kate Becker and Ryan Shuckman took video news first place. Allison Brooks received first place in feature writing, review writing, and multimedia storytelling, along with Alicia Fireman. And Alicia was also a first place winner in editorial writing. Caitlin Leiker won headline writing and design, news page design, yearbook copy editing. Emily Ermy Lundy, copy editing. Hope Shoemaker, cut line writing, and Brenna Schween, newspaper sports writing. Just a lot of great things. There's some other placers in there that we just wanted the board to be aware of. Once again, it's just kind of a downside to COVID. Normally, we try to bring in some of these kids and
Yep.
just get a little more recognition for their
Very good. Yeah, thank you. All right, there we go.
Thanks, Lori, for keeping us on.
That's right. All right, so we're moving on to public comment. Okay, this meeting is open to the public. I welcome comments from the public. Would anyone like to step forward and speak to the board? Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Don't see anybody's hands jumping up there. Next is item reports and presentations. We're moving along pretty quickly here, guys. That's great. Two items. We have district communication from Superintendent Ron Wilson, and then an update of the COVID plan. Back over to you.
I'll take it away with my communications real quickly. Just a couple items I want to run through. Kansas Teacher of the Year awards were last Saturday. We had two of our teachers who were in the running, Lisa Renz and Aubrey Brooks. Lisa was named a semi-finalist for Region 1 and was not named the finalist later on in the award celebration, her activity, but she was just happy that she got recognized as a semi-finalist. Aubrey did not make a semi-finalist, but we're still very happy that she represented our school district so well, and happy they got a little bit of recognition. Did want to take some time. We've been talking about kindergarten enrollment. We've been working, I shouldn't say we, it's not been me, it's been Shanna and Jess and the elementary teacher or principals have been putting in a ton of time working on kindergarten enrollment. Looks like we're right there at 230 students, which is very normal size class. I think, and I would even anticipate as the year comes closer to the start, we'll see even a few more. So numbers look good. The one thing I do want to just highlight, if you remember last year, we were over 250, which was an abnormally large class for us. We ended up adding 3 kindergarten positions that helped us keep our numbers down 18 or below in all our classes, which we got a lot of positive feedback from that. And looking at our numbers, we're anticipating we could probably reduce 1 kindergarten spot, which will still keep our numbers 18 or below. So we'll still have a few extra, kindergarten slots available to keep those numbers, as under 18, but we'll probably be able to reduce 1 slot and maybe use that position in other spots. I think the letters, of course, that's always a big deal where we get the information sent out to parents. That should be coming through in a couple of weeks to parents, as they will be notified where their child will be attending.
That's great.
Just a little vaccine update, as I've normally been doing with board meeting. This week, April 1st, Thursday, it's our last big hurrah. We'll be knocking, I shouldn't say knocking out, that's not the appropriate term. We'll be vaccinating probably over 200 of our staff for the second and final vaccine, which is just going to be a big hurdle that we have to cross, and really feel good about that. I think as we move forward into May, this is just going to be a nice relief for everybody. Our COVID numbers continue to look good. Looked at them today. We right now have 0 positive cases in our district. That's students and staff, and we have looks like six people. And I can't tell you, but I think it's all students that are in quarantine. We only have 6 quarantines, so our numbers continue to look outstanding. So really, I don't know. I hate to get too excited, but if we can continue this is a great thing. So I just want to share that with you. We'll be doing interviews for the next Hayes High School principal this week. We'll be interviewing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Hopefully I'll have a selection for you to approve at the next board meeting. And then hopefully we will also have an assistant high school principal for you to approve at the next meeting. So I've got some busy weeks and a lot of interviews. I did want to take a short amount of time to talk a little bit about the legislative update. Guys, here's the deal. man, this thing changes so drastically, and a bill that they might name something, but then what they do is they gut the bill and they put other stuff inside that bill, so that bill number might still be the same thing, but it totally changes the look of it. I did want to highlight just a few, and we've talked about Senate Bill 2119. That is the bill that basically allows public school students to attend or set up like a tax savings account. And then if they're free and reduced, they could attend a private school. I made last meeting saying we're very much opposed to this bill. It's still out there. It has not been debated officially, but I just kind of want to keep you abreast that it has not gone away. And did you have a comment?
Well, I guess I think it's important for the community to understand that because we do not see maybe the value in I think that's the right word I want to use, but the value in a legislative, that does not mean that our private partners across town, that we are not in support of them or want to see them do well. And so I think that's important for us to just make note of.
Sure. What we're not in support of is taking public funds, which have been designated for public schools, and being allowed to take them and pay for private school education. There has no reference to what we feel or think about our good friends across the way. It just has to do with we feel like those are our funds, and they should stay here. And it will have a dramatic effect on us if they're allowed to do that. Senate Bill 267. That is the bill that I don't even know if it's taken. We talked about this last time because this one just kind of popped up in a short time. But if you remember the ESSER funds that we have received from the federal government for COVID relief, the Senate, in all their wise and wisdom, have decided, well, hey, since you're getting that, maybe we'll supplant. We'll take away the money that we were going to give you. We'll take that federal money and we'll put it in place. This is still being debated. Over spring break, spent a lot of time talking with senators and representatives. I don't know if I made any headway, but wanted to just let them know that we do not feel that's really we don't see any advantage to this. And this is still, what I've been told by the senators is that this will be cleared up in the omnibus wrap-up session. I think, they first have to find out if they can even do it. And I think there's a lot of people out there that say that's really not even legal to do that. But anyway, that is still out there. Did want to talk about two more bills. House Bill 2104. The big thing on this bill is that there's many pieces in this bill, and I'm not going to talk about all the pieces in it, but the one thing that I did want to make you aware of that they've added, and sometimes I think, did we make someone mad somewhere along the line? I'm not sure exactly where we did that, but they have modified some dates that are pretty important dates for us, and it's a property tax transparency bill. And so basically, we have to determine if our revenue is going to increase for each year. And if that revenue increases, we have to notify the county clerk by July 20th. And then we have to tell them that they're calling it the revenue neutral rate.
Oh, yeah.
So revenue neutral rate means that we plan to assess more, levy more taxes than we did the prior year. Now, the simple way, sometimes that's just happens because when valuation, a property tax goes up, it's going to be a bigger assessment. So we have really no control over that. That just happens. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing about that is that, and this was quite a debate, is that we always had to have our budget certified by August 25th. So we've always been a little bit of a rush. Through some conversations, they did get that moved back to September 20th. So I don't know. That's something that once again, this is still being debated. I don't necessarily know if it's a great bill, but it might be something that we will be seeing. And the last one, this one is important to you. Senate Bill 40. This bill has already been signed by the governor. And basically, it has, once again, a lot of stuff in it, and we won't get into all of this, but it basically is giving power to the local school board to take over the responsibility that decisions about things like closing schools, requiring different learning options, like we looked at throughout the year, or those other mandates, such as face masks, those kinds of things. That's going to fall back onto you until May 28th, basically to the end of school. And the only reason I bring this up as the governor's executive order is possibly going to expire on the face mask mandate. That's what 2059, Governor's Executive Order 2059. Says that if you're in a school, you have to wear a face mask. And there's been a lot of hot debate about that. That will now fall back to you as we make decisions here until the end of the year. And that's one of the reasons I just wanted to share that piece of legislation. And that has been signed into law. So that Governor Kelly did sign that. So
Okay.
that's just a little bit of a breakdown on some of the legislative actions going on. There's still tons to go on from here on out.
All right. Well, thank you. Any questions about the legislative stuff?
I would encourage board members, like Ron said, I don't know who he made mad, but I have been contacting both our representative and our senator on several of these bills and have had no response back as a school board member. So I don't know if I've made them mad or they're too busy at this time.
Yeah. Keep being ignored.
Mr. President, was at this point that you had that note that you were going to talk about PACCA, or since it wasn't added to the agenda?
No, it's down
on the
there.
agenda.
It's under board discussion. Real quick, though, the other item we're going to talk about, 5.3 now, is the side council minutes. But real quick, since we had a large kindergarten class last year, is the turning out that the first grade class is larger than usual? You would think?
Yeah, our first grade is, our next year's first grade will be a large group.
Gotcha.
I think it depends on the building. I think we held our own in some buildings. Maybe we've lost some in others, but it's still a very big class. And you have to remember, we have, 13 sections in kindergarten?
Right now?
Right, 14, but we'll go down to 11 in first grade. So we'll go from 14 sections down to 11 when they go to first grade. So those numbers will grow next year because we do have that large class.
They
Yeah,
shouldn't
makes sense.
exceed the limits we've set years ago of 23. We took that into account by adding the fourth, not to let anyone enroll beyond a certain threshold, knowing that they'd have to then move into 3 sections of first grade. So we're talking about how best to support first grade next year. That may be a need, with ESSER funds that we come back and say we need some additional student support in some capacity, because those are kids that, kindergarten COVID year, that we'll probably see some effect of that. Or, there was a group of that kindergarten class that was PCR. And so it's too soon to tell, but it shouldn't exceed the limits we have set as a district, Mike, if that answers that question.
That sounds great. That's a giant puzzle, so you guys do a great job trying to figure that out. Okay, let's go back to, now it's actually 5.38, but it's the side council minutes. We have minutes from Hayes Middle School, Wilson Elementary, and Roosevelt Elementary.
Yes, Mike, I'd just like to discuss, I really appreciate when the site council puts down the people who are in attendance. I noticed that like Hayes Middle School has everybody listed so we can see who's been there. There's been, 10, 2, 1, we would know who was attended this meeting. That's usually would be added to the minutes. And also add requests that we could tell them to see, please put that in. Also, I received a list from Shanna earlier in the year of all the site council Members, I think they've changed. I know they've changed. Could I get an update of that, please?
Yeah.
I would appreciate that.
Okay, any other discussion about minutes or site councils?
Ron, just a quick question. I know site councils are required by the state.
Yep.
And I know for years, the district did a site council report in June or July. I can't remember when we changed taking the minutes of each site council and having them as part of the board agenda. I thought previously in years, we just waited till the year-long site council report came out. I know as a principal, we usually did it started June of each, right after the school year. I don't know if that's something we want to look at, or...
I think one reason we switched to having them scattered throughout the
I
year
just think it's more
is,
current.
Yeah.
As the
But-
meetings happen, you get the minutes, and you can see
Yeah.
what's going on.
I think that's good. I know it's a lot of work, and it's a minutes of an ongoing, but if that works better than just the yearly report, are we still required to do the yearly report also?
Of the site council.
Site council?
There's a summary of the board, to the board every year, annually,
Right.
from the site council.
I mean,
Oh, I
I
see,
think
yeah.
you're seeing the minutes.
So I guess we're
reflected
interpreting that
as
as-
what happens.
yeah,
Right.
I mean, you want a summary of all of them reflected together?
No, I
Each
just,
building.
if it was more work doing these minutes each month rather than just the yearly ones, but I'll leave that up to who is doing it.
You're not asking for both.
No, I'm not asking
You're
for
saying
both.
in either or if it's easier for.
Well, and it was a previous board that didn't really want them all at one time because it's hard to really capture what's going on. So it was suggested that they take a month and share, which we've done because that board felt like it gave a better picture of things that were going on. So we moved to that. And now Ron's been including the minutes in addition to that, but that's really was a change in what the board asked.
I think that's probably good. Like I said, I just wasn't aware the previous board changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a few
it
years.
changed. I think it was
remember when,
overwhelming
but it's
at
been,
one
yeah.
time. The meeting went on forever. It was
Yeah.
everyone all at once.
Like it
so
way it is.
I think we tried to spread it out.
Yeah, I think that's been a nice addition. Every building gets an opportunity to share what's going on in their building, and you're getting the minutes that's updated by what's happening. So,
Well, and the site councils themselves are required to meet annually. I mean, that's some tied in with home and school and do different things, so it really is an annual event tied with school improvement, so.
Okay, thanks. All right, so let's move on to, where are we? Oh, action discussion items. So we have,
now,
No.
You have to vote on it.
to vote on what? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I move to accept the site council minutes as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
All righty, motion and second. Do I have any more discussion? Okay, I want to call for a vote to accept the site council minutes as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion passes 5-1. Please vote electronically the same way. Thank you for the reminder. Now, moving on to action discussion.
now, actually, COVID.
The COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you already gave it to us. I'm sorry. Man,
Yeah,
I'm trying to rush through. I guess I'm trying
it's all
to.
kind of meshes together. doesn't it?
It does. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, this is just, as we are moving forward and making adjustments, using the term pivoting, we're making a small pivot. Just in our plan, as we are looking at our numbers, and I've already shared, our numbers are looking really good. We are still planning to do contact tracing for any positive, but what we're then hoping to do is that those that might be a close contact of someone who is identified as being positive and being inside our school, we'll notify parents and let them know that they've been in close contact with someone who is positive, and we will give them the option, if they are asymptomatic, meaning they're not showing any symptoms we'll give them the option whether to quarantine, if they want to quarantine or not quarantine. And we're really trying to move completely away from quarantine, or it might just be happening just, like I said, we're at 6 quarantines, but all of those quarantines are outside, we're outside of school. So that, we're not getting rid of that, because if your family member is positive, we're still going to ask you to quarantine there. These are only within the school building and being in close contact. We would give the option not have to quarantine. So.
Because our mitigation measures are continuing with masks and distancing and washing hands. So those layers are why we feel like that's our recommendation.
Okay.
So we'd like to update that if everyone seems to think that would work. We did want to talk a little bit about face masks. We're recommending that we continue with face masks. I know I shared with you that Senate Bill 40 kind of maybe throws it onto your table a little more than it has in the past. We just feel like right now we'll continue to monitor our numbers as vaccines become more and more prevalent in our community and numbers continue to stay low. There might be a possibility that we would recommend doing away with masks. But right now we just feel like it's a safety measure that we have in place. We want to continue it for a little while longer and see where everything falls. And if things continue to look good, we'll maybe come back and have some discussion about that. But at this point, we just feel like we need to continue for the time being. So just wanted to share that as part of our COVID plan. Any questions on any of that?
Just to clarify real quick, of course, what we're talking about is if there's a confirmed case in the building, that person is quarantined.
Yes, of course, they're positive, so they.
But it's the people nearby, we don't automatically quarantine them, we talk to the parents and explain the situation.
Yes.
Gotcha, okay.
Is this, I mean, I know you work with a county,
Yes.
lack of a better word, task force.
Yes.
Is this something that's gone
Yeah,
through them?
everyone was on board. We felt like we all worked through it, talked about it, and felt like, yeah, this would be a good plan. And just maybe in a sense, another step to returning to normal. It's not quite normal by any means, but it's one more step to maybe get back.
Yeah. And with those county schools, they will meet with their boards and people from now until April 6th, next Tuesday after the Easter break, and that Monday is when we said we would put this in place. And then we talked about that with, like I said, Jason Kennedy and Dr. Harris are a part of that as well, so.
They were in full support of that.
Right.
Good.
I say August. Oh.
And I think we're at that point now where, things are just a little bit insecure. You're having good numbers, but you just don't know much about
Sure.
what's going to happen in the future. So you kind of lay back and take some safety precautions with that.
And the one thing I would add to that, Lori, and I haven't mentioned this, but we did have some staff not take the vaccine for some good reason. We had some young mothers that still have some questions about, just maybe, is this the right thing to do? So they chose not to take the vaccine. They work in our schools, and there's no judgment there. We encourage people to get the vaccine, but we're not requiring anyone to get the vaccine. And once again, by continuing these mitigation protocols, we can hopefully, if there is that virus spread still out there, which it is possible, this will be another measure just to help that from spreading.
And Ron, just a quick question on masks, since we've been talking about it. Since the city dropped their mask mandate, and I appreciate what they did for us, I felt like that was key this year. I know we're talking about students and staff will still have to wear masks, but anybody entering our building, parents or anybody like that, are we requiring?
We still ask parents to anyone that visits. I mean, we don't really allow visitors, but if they come in to pick someone up.
Okay. All right, good.
And still would require that and ask people to serve that for us. And people, I think, for the most part, have been really good. I don't think we've had real major
Yeah.
issues.
Okay, very good. Okay, thanks, Ron. Appreciate that information.
Is this something we have to vote on?
So I think we just have to agree that,
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I mean,
it's
you're-
not ever- technically, you guys have not voted.
Right.
Well, we've just kind of presented it, and we've kind of been able to manage, and don't necessarily know if we need a vote.
well, my opinion is, and talking to different board members, and I believe the general consensus, to maybe a little difference here and there, is that you have a good plan in place, a good process in place to make these decisions. Then you come to us and present them. And if it looks like the numbers start to go bad, then we just
Sure.
impose those policies again. So then we go back to 6 feet, or we go back to these other things, so. Yeah. Stating the obvious, okay. Okay, moving on to discussion items and action items. We have quite a number of things here, folks. We have resolution to adopt lease purchases, the bus purchase, which we talked about last time, the tractor purchase, which we talked about last time, classified director contracts, the 2-year administrator contract issue, and the appointment of the Board of Education negotiation team for this year. I'm going to go ahead and just get things rolling here and move to accept the resolution to adopt lease purchase agreements as presented in the agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second it for discussion.
Yep, we'll have discussion. Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded, so now we're moving into the discussion phase. Do you want to present some information to us pretty quickly here?
Just
We
real
can-
quickly, this
Yep.
is for our Roseville HVAC project, $2.1 million. We received a bid from Enterprise Bank here in Hayes. That's a very good rate, 1.39. Exceptional rate, just outstanding.
That is outstanding.
We'll, really, I mean, it's just phenomenal. So we'll be able to get that wrapped up and spend a little less money than we anticipated.
Great, good. Any questions or comments, folks, in our discussion period?
You know, I would agree that, I know I was following how good the city's bonds for their Vine Street improvement area was, and this meets that or beats the interest rates there. So I appreciate all the bids, but especially Emprise.
Did have 4 banks here and locally who bid for the service, but Enterprise had by far the best.
Okay. Very good. I don't see anybody jumping in to discuss things. I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? All righty, motion passes 6-0. Please vote electronically the same way. Next item is the purchase of the activity bus. Following the same approach, I move to approve the motion regarding the bus as presented in the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Tammy, second. Now, discussion, do you want to give us a little brief overview again, or is this the same stuff we
This is
had?
kind of the same, the bus will provide, will be the second bus, just like we purchased last year. One of those older coach liners, will only be an activity bus. Will not be able to be used for routes, but with the miles that we put on and the places that we go, this just gives us great flexibility and a really great opportunity for our kids to feel a little pride, because there is something to be said for having something nice to ride in. Pulling into opposing teams' parking lot and having a bus that you, I know it seems kind of silly.
No,
but
no.
It is sometimes, and it
all part of
provides a
school.
really nice ride, much better than the old yellow school bus. I mean, if you needed to experience it just so you can justify the cost, we can put you on the yellow school bus and send you to Garden City, and then we'll put you on the Ultra Coach Liner, and I think you'll find that big difference.
I think most of us still remember those days, so I think we're okay.
Ron, this is the first time we've had 2 buses like this. Do we have a place to store it?
I
And
believe so. Yeah, the shop, for the inside shop.
we have enough room for that?
Yes.
And last year you mentioned that we were going to do that one that year, and we would not do one this year. Was there a reason why we bumped it up?
Well, this is being
This is
purchased
next
out
year's.
Next year's.
It'll be delivered in July if we order one, or next school year.
But if you look at the motion, it says in the motion that it's.
Right, but I mean, this is the first time we've ever had two of these buses, so I just wanted to.
It's the first time we've had
Okay.
two the exact same,
Right.
dressed up the way they are, yes.
But we still have the white bus, activity bus that we had before, so that gives us an additional
Actually,
bus.
three.
Three
Yeah,
activities.
So we have three, so, okay.
Correct.
Now, are these safe, there will be safe, not safety like a yellow bus, but because this is enough for the,
Can just not use it, picking up and delivering kids from school. So it can be used on field trips.
No route bus,
school,
just
and all
activity.
sports kids. Yes.
thank you.
All right, very good.
One question I had for Russ, and I don't see the new, or the older activity bus very often. It's always out of town, so I never see it. I know when they wrapped it, it says, what does the wrap say on it?
Indian Pride. It's got Hayes, Kansas on it.
A couple people brought up, would it be good to have USD 489 on
It
that
might
rather
have it
than
on the
just
back,
Hayes,
the very back
Kansas?
of it. I think it may have that. I'd have to verify.
Okay.
A couple people didn't think it had USD 489 on it, so I'm just bringing that up for consideration.
I would like to make sure that's.
Sure.
This one, the other one.
I was thinking, I'd have to double check. I was thinking on the very back it may have had USD 49 on it.
Okay, if you
And it's
would
got
check
Hayes,
on that.
Kansas on it, and then it's got the Indian Pride on it.
Okay.
But yeah, we can make sure
I
that,
like that idea.
we can make sure that's on there.
Because especially if the middle school, elementaries, whoever, their connection to USD 489.
Right.
That's true.
Cool, I like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Russ.
Okay.
Good point.
Thank you.
Any hands going up? Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. We have a motion and a second, and we had discussion, so all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Hearing none, motion passes 6-0. Please vote electronically the same way you just voted. All right, next is the tractor. We discussed that last meeting. We have a motion.
This is just a compact tractor.
Come here.
We're not talking the big work in the field kind of tractor. This is a small
Right.
little tractor. Would be for our buildings and grounds maintenance crew. The conversation was brought up last meeting about looking at used. We did look for a used tractor. Basically, compact tractors are not in huge demand in this area. I mean, they're small, they're not really things that fit into this area. Pretty limited. Carico Implement did have one, but really the cost that they were going to have to advertise for was more than what we're have quote from for the Mass Ferguson from
Lang?
Lang Diesel.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember where we're getting it from.
Okay.
This will prove a solid piece of equipment. The big issue, and we addressed it last meeting, is we have a lot of implements that we're utilizing, that we're adapting because our tractor is so old. The implements that we have will fit nicely on this tractor, and it'll be a better situation. For a really pretty good price, because honestly, you will go buy a pickup, you're going to spend more than that, probably a really nice pickup, so, or even another vehicle.
The tractor we're replacing doesn't have a bucket, correct?
Does not have one.
And we already have two buckets, tractors. We have the skid loader, we also have the backhoe. Is there a reason why we need to have a third bucket tractor when that, I mean, we're not using three all
I
at
just
once.
think the versatility just gives us a valuable use for a tractor. Being a farm kid myself, I'm going to tell you, the bucket tractor is the most versatile piece of machinery on your farm. So I think it just provides a lot of, if you have that tractor and it doesn't have a bucket on it, it just sometimes you wish you did. So I don't think it's a tremendous cost to have a bucket.
But we didn't look for a utility tractor without a bucket, right? We just looked for one with a bucket, so that cut down our numbers. So, I guess
Okay.
I'm going to vote against this because this is another thing that's just going to be used, hardly any hours are going to be put on it. The bus is very expensive, a piece of equipment that's used by kids every day. We have 3 tractors now. We just put new tires on that tractor, and now we're going to be getting rid of it. It's nothing's wrong with it, it runs good.
We're
Buy a
not
new one.
getting rid of it, though. I thought it was going to
Well,
be
the purple wave it, yeah.
The
purple
old
wave
one,
it,
yeah.
okay.
But we're not throwing it in the trash can. And I think the bucket does provide another snow removal, which is huge. Both of those tractors are not for moving snow, so this would provide another way for us to move snow.
And it'll be maintenance department and grounds that will be using it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I would have just kind of liked to heard from Rusty. I know I want to thank Russ for going out and getting all the bids and everything, but it wasn't really his department, it was Rusty's department. I just wasn't sure why Russ was going out and getting all the bids.
Okay, I will definitely speak to that.
Okay.
Russ and I have been having the conversation about transportation and transportation overseeing all the vehicle purchases and stuff. They oversee the purchase of the transportation truck, all that. So we've been working to get that on the list, get them on the rotation, and develop that. I'm not a mechanic, never claimed to be. I'm buildings and grounds. I'm not transportation, and never claimed to be transportation. So Jamie is the one that's going to be using this, along with Jeff the most. Had them go out, they got with Claude, they went through what the actual need for the district was. So the part that we're all forgetting on this is we looked at what the need was, not what was out there to buy. So we took the tractor to Claude and Jamie went through, they looked through what they could find, what they thought was available. Russ went out, done the legwork, the bids on it. He's got more familiarity with that as far as like vehicles. I wouldn't expect for us to go and do the stuff that I'm doing as far as the building repairs and that kind of things, because that's not his job, that's not his expertise. So that was where the division on that was. Russ brought it in. The only mistake that was probably made last meeting is I should have been the one that got up and spoke to what the usage of the tractor was. And Russ got caught in that a little bit as far as trying to present that, and that part should have really came from me. It's going to be used out there. One of the things that's been going on since I've been here, the high school has been in a long conversation with me for several years about the upkeep of our fields out there as far as our practice fields, our playing field for junior varsity. We've purchased equipment to try to oversee, to aerate, to do that, and the tractor that we have is actually too light for the implements that we're using, so it's not effective. Jeff uses that tractor, the current tractor, for snow removal. If you've ever used done snow removal with a tractor without a bucket with a back blade, they're helpless. You can push more snow than you can pull. So it's going to give a good advantage for that. The other piece of that is the skid steer does get used for snow removal, but it goes and it's assigned to the middle school. That's where it's housed. Anytime that we go to do anything on the fields or anything, we have to transport it over there. So it doesn't make much sense to have a tractor without a bucket and then have to always keep transporting another tractor over there. It's just another waste of time, and time is something that basically we all know we don't have enough of, especially with everything that we've got going on. So those were the decisions that went into the purchase of the tractor and that part of it. Russ done a great job. I really appreciate him doing it. Like I said, that's his expertise, and I recognize that. He did go back, he looked at what we could get used for what we were trying to meet our need. They told us basically with the government contracting and not as many of those tractors available, that it was going to actually be cheaper through the government contracting than to try to pick up a used tractor or a leased tractor that's coming out of lease. So that's how we got there, that's how we arrived at it, and that's all the thought and process to it. This hasn't been something that's, been just a quick decision. I've actually been looking at this over probably the last 2 years. I started to bring it in last year. We needed to really replace Jamie's pickup because it was wore out and needed to be replaced. So I prioritized it over the tractor for 1 more year. We're to the point we need to replace it. So that's how we got here. Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Rusty, what kind of price do you think we'll be able to get out of it?
I have no idea.
Okay.
That would be somebody who's a vehicle person, and Russ might know that. I don't know. I'm guessing at the age of it and stuff, it's probably not going to be as much. If we were talking, I don't know. I don't even want to venture a guess. It's just not my thing.
When did you put the new tires on?
We had put new tires on. I don't remember when that was. I know we had one that went bad, and Claude, when he worked on them, we had to replace that set of tires. That's part of what happens to you when you wait. We should have probably replaced it 2 years ago. We elected to wait, and we've had to put some expense into it, and now it's some expense we're probably going to lose. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
You want to make a motion? Not a motion.
Did we? Oh, that's right. I'll make a motion to accept the bid from LDI for the Massey Ferguson as presented.
All right, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We've already had discussion. Anybody want to say anything quick? Okay, I want to call for a vote now. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion passes 5-1. Please vote electronically the same way. Okay, next is the classified director contracts. I'm going to start the ball rolling here by moving to approve the district classified director contracts as recommended by the administration. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now we'll move into discussion. Ron, do you have anything you want to discuss on this one?
Group. They put in a lot of time, a lot of hours, make lots of decisions. Our managers, we're just lucky to have them in our district, truly.
Especially this last year where they've gone above and beyond, so.
On top of everything else.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'd like to hear the cooperation that was going on with the
Yeah.
tractor purchase. That's fantastic. We want that kind of stuff.
I've seen a couple of things tonight, just in terms of what they do. It's just, we're very fortunate.
Very good. Very good. Okay, any more discussion?
Just because we didn't have a chance to talk to each about them and bring up concerns, I will have to vote no with the director contract.
Okay. Any more discussion, guys? Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Nay.
Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion passes 5-1. Please vote electronically the same way. Now we're moving to the 2-year administrator contracts issue. The issue is to provide 2-year administrator contracts to all district and building administrators, starting with the 21-22 school year. I'm going to just move to get things going here. I'm going to move to accept the motion as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now we're moving to discussion. And this would be principals and assistant principals and administrator. Okay.
And I just have a quick question, Ron or Chris, I don't know who, as far as the other one there, but how, obviously if we go to the 2-year contracts and the other one, how does that work on the opposite side then? What protections does the district get then? I mean, we're giving some stuff, we're basically, giving them a 2-year contract. Well, what if a year into that contract, they decide they're going to leave? What do we get out of it as a district?
When they resign, they resign their contract.
So really nothing.
Okay.
No, I guess I'm just asking though, I mean, like I said, we're giving them kind of a, saying, hey, we're going to give you a 2-year contract. If they don't uphold that 2-year contract, we really don't have anything out of it, I guess is what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
We don't buy it out or anything. because they'd resigned to take another position somewhere else.
Right. I guess I was just
You
asking on
suggesting
our
a,
end. Well, I mean,
$100
like I
fee
said,
or something?
my only thing, like I said, I mean, I don't have a problem one way or the other one. I just have yet to see any evidence that says it's going to make a big deal if we go one way or the other. And I mean, we were at 2 years, we went to 1 year. It didn't make any difference, in my opinion, with the caliber of people we were still able to get. So I mean, if somebody can show me blatant evidence that it does, I have no problem supporting it. I guess my question was, if we were going to go to that, what, if we're giving a 2 year, then what do we have on the other side then? If, because I mean, we're basically saying, hey, you're guaranteed 2 years. Well, if you don't uphold those 2 years, what do we get out of it? That's my question.
I appreciate that, and like I said, and I don't think there's a black and white
Sure,
answer.
and that's the only
because,
reason I was asking.
When they went from 2 years to 1 year, there was nothing black and white.
Sure.
It was just, this is what we want to do.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know if I can give you any evidence that it makes an administrator better. I do think the only thing I would say is, I think there is maybe, if you would approve this action, I think it's a nice thank you for the job you're doing. We appreciate, and we want to acknowledge that. I think that is probably the only bit that you can truly see.
Sure.
That some value in. As far as, does it make an administrator better? And no. And do we get anything on the backside if they would leave early? No, absolutely.
yeah, okay, but I do hope that, and maybe with the current folks, they're here already, and so it's a nice pat on the back, and that's probably it. But if we're hiring new folks, I'm hoping that if it's a 2-year contract, then they take the job, well, I don't say more seriously, but at least they'd be saying, look, I'm committing to 2 years.
Sure.
You know?
I think there's some value in that. I think there is some value in saying, oh, yeah, I got 2 years, so.
And I can definitely see that. And I mean, I guess I just felt, like I said, I don't think, in my opinion, even over the last number of years when we've had a 1 year, I still feel like we have really great people
Yeah,
that we've
sure.
brought in. So I guess that was my point, is I don't want to discount just because we had a 1 year that the people we got weren't up to where they should be, because I disagree.
Oh, yeah,
So.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
What's the length of the contract? How many days?
They're 12 months.
Administrator contract.
12 months?
12 months, but how many days?
241. 241.
Okay. When did that change? Shanna, do you know? When was that? I was trying to look back to see if previous
it
board
changed.
meetings.
When it went to 12, when everyone became 12 months?
No, when it came to 241
Oh, it's always,
instead of 260.
I've always had the same contract since I've been here. I mean, days.
Do you know, Craig?
I do not know.
What? How many days do you
Changes.
have? Do you remember?
I do not know that. The district always put out,
Yeah.
on a 12-month contract, here were your work days, and here are days you would have to take a vacation day,
Yeah.
or, I don't know if that's changed.
I don't know from an administrator standpoint, if you really, truly, I mean, the days that they don't work, I'm still calling them, and if there's something like that, the thing to do, and they're still doing stuff on those days too, so.
Yeah. I agree to that, and especially the elementary principals back when we went from the 2 year to 1 year and from 10 months to 12 months, they started working 12-month contracts for the same benefits that they were working 10-month contracts for at that time.
10 and a half months.
And so, I agree with what Lance has said. We've got really good administrators, and I agree with what Ron said. This is a way, I think we're building the trust with teachers through negotiations. I think this is just a good way to build trust with our administrators and say thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
I appreciate that, Ron.
Tammy, Lori, do you have anything to add to this discussion?
I'm usually not very quiet, but I guess I am tonight. So enjoy, everybody.
That's fine. No, that's all right. I just want to make sure everyone,
Lance, all your concerns from last meeting are
Yes.
there?
okay, we've had discussion. I'm going to call for a motion. All in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion passes 6-0. Please vote electronically the same way. Now, next item is the appointment of the Board of Education negotiating team. I guess that's me. Let's see, last time it was Craig, Lance, and I, right? And I
think
do
so.
think there's a logic to have 3 board members on the team, not anymore. My opinion is we just stick with the same team for the next year. But that's my opinion. Anybody have anything else they want to add?
I am
okay.
willing to be on the committee, but if somebody feels strongly, like, that would be okay too.
Well, this is actually more of a discussion, I think, because I think it's my decision.
You know, there was one time that
It's a
Tammy was
learning
wanting to be on the
process.
team.
Yeah, definitely is one.
I have an interest in serving, I'm in a new position, professionally, so I'm just unsure of what that looks like for me.
Okay.
But I mean, if somebody were to step down, and I would willingly step forward.
Okay.
But not to the point of asking somebody to step down, I guess.
It's always next year, right? So,
And Tammy, you did some training, didn't you, on negotiating?
I would be qualified, I guess, from the way that the KASB, I've done the necessary training.
Right.
Can she be designated as an alternate? Someone can't come? It'd be nice to train somebody new, too, in case we need to.
no, that's not a problem, I don't think. 3 members and an alternate.
Are you okay
No
with
problem
that?
being that.
Okay, with you? Does that sound good to you, Lori?
That sounds good.
Okay. Okay, so Lance, Craig, and I will be on the team, and Tammy will be the alternate member.
Really good
Sounds
stick.
excellent.
No, it doesn't mean the 3 of us can slack off. We got to come to the meeting. All right, very good. Now let's move on to the next item. Board discussion. So the first item on board discussion is the nepotism policy that was brought up last time. It was requested that we review board policy GACCA. The nepotism policy states that the superintendent shall make reasonable efforts to determine whether a candidate for employment is related to a board member or an administrator of the district. If a candidate is related to a board member or administrator, the superintendent will make this fact known to the board. Except in an emergency, the board will not employ anyone who is the father, mother, brother, sister, spouse, son, daughter, stepson, stepdaughter, son-in-law, or daughter-in-law of any board member. The provision shall not apply to any person who has been regularly employed by the board prior to the adoption of this policy, or to any person who has been regularly employed by the board prior to the election or appointment of a new board member to whom that person is related. Okay. Let's see. That little part, no. No employee no employee shall directly supervise or be responsible for any portion of the evaluation of his or her father, mother, sister, brother, spouse, son, daughter, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, son-in-law, stepson, stepdaughter, son-in-law, and daughter-in-law. There we go.
In your relation.
I guess nieces and nephews are okay. Okay, so that's the policy there. Ron and I met on this a number of times, actually, sort of discussed the issue, and I asked him to look into it, see what possibly there could be going on, and I think that there was not an issue. Did you have a chance to talk to Bill on this? I think you may have.
Yeah, Bill and I.
Bill and I, you and Bill met, yeah. So, I don't know, from my perspective, looks like the policy's being followed. Any more discussion, anyone?
Question I have is, you said that you did not know of any situation. The main thing is the superintendent will make this known back to the board. So at some point, how's that process work? We just in a letter or note?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I think actually the last time this occurred, the board was informed, and that's pretty much it.
I mean, prior to any kind of employment.
Okay.
So there's no situations right now.
I don't know what you're alluding to. If you'd like to state it, that'd be fine.
I would just say, we have not had any report from the superintendent on any situation, any directors, administrators. Now, there's some situations where they, and it's happened before, they like had gotten married, and I can know that
I
situation
mean, if you're
before.
referring to like Mr. Straub, his wife Mary works at Roosevelt, John Lynn, his wife works at Roosevelt, Paul Albers has a wife who works at ECC. If you want all that, I can probably go through the tree of USB 489 and dig out who is all related. But I don't think that's probably what you're getting at.
I guess it'd be if someone is supervising somebody and has hired somebody, and it says in case of emergency only, and if there's positions that have been available, have they been advertised, and how are they advertised, and those types of things. And the situations that came upon them.
It sounds like we're doing that, so unless you're aware of something specific, I guess I don't know why we're having the conversation.
I'm glad that it sounds like that you've done a lot of research and you've got a lot of information about it. And I guess if there's more concerns, I'll come to you directly.
But I would like to just ask for one clarification. It says that it would be made, this fact would be made known to the board. I'm assuming not every year we have to know Tom and his wife work in the school district, that was done once, and it predates all of us, right? I mean, there's nothing that says that, but
That
legal
situation-
advice, we just need to know, and if it's not done during our term, it's not an issue, right?
Tammy, my legal advice is, these are your policies.
These are our
So if you want to be informed of those at the beginning of every year, or the beginning of every semester, then the board needs to let the administration know. Otherwise, you continue with the status quo like it's always been done,
Okay.
which would be, I suppose, if somebody new is hired that falls into that notification, then you are notified.
Okay?
How I would have interpreted this is it was made at the very first time an awareness had been made, even if it was like maybe, Tom, I'm going to keep using you, but say Tom's wife wasn't, because we like to do that, but maybe she was a sub, and we heard it the first time, but we're not having to hear it every time unless it gets to where there's a direct. So that's how I would have interpreted this policy.
Well, I think that's the way
I would agree.
I agree, and I think the situations, those examples are people on the staff that are not supervised. Tom does not supervise his wife. Marty didn't supervise Mary. So.
I'm not aware of anybody that supervises the staff, or relative though.
Well, if there's a director or a administrator that has somebody under them, then that's...
Under them, but do they
I would like to know
supervise
about
them?
it.
Oh, well, that, according to this policy, that would be telling us.
Yeah.
So,
Are we following the policy? We are, that's great.
Yeah, I believe we are.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sounds
Very good.
great. Thank you very much for that, Ron. All right, and Bill, thanks for jumping in there. All right, future meeting agenda requests. Now, I want to remind everybody that these are requests, so what I'll do is I take the request and then we work with Ron and decide if the issue is already on the agenda for the next meeting or something down the road, or that it's just not an issue we want to discuss at the moment. So these are requests. So please make requests if you want to do so.
This isn't really a board request, but I just want to take the time. I just about jumped in when we were doing the student spotlight. I wanted to take an opportunity to congratulate Gloria Blackwell, who was the Hayes Post Teacher of the Year, 25 years in our district, 45 years as a teacher. That is just unbelievable for most people to think. 45 years in the classroom. I've had the opportunity to have kids go through her program, grandkids go through her program, and I had the opportunity to supervise a student teacher in her program, and that is well-deserved, and I appreciate Anita nominating her.
Good.
Excellent.
I agree 100%.
She's the real deal.
Teacher of the what?
I think it was teacher of the month. maybe.
Teacher
I was
of the
thinking it was
month.
teacher of the month.
Yeah, teacher of the
It can be
month.
teacher
Yeah.
of the year. She also.
She's still great, yes.
Elementary teacher of the year.
Oh, okay.
Can I,
Yeah.
if I could piggyback on that a little bit, I really miss, I want to thank the Hayes Post for recognizing our Teacher of the Month. I really miss our Best of the Best that the board was involved with, because we got to see those people, not just read about them. So I don't know if we can discuss it, or Ron, it's just a thought. I really miss being able to, and it doesn't have to be best of the best, just some way to recognize
I think there's,
I think the only reason we didn't is just because we tried to have
with
them
the
here.
COVID.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Maybe we can look at us starting it back up
Well,
pretty quick.
I think we'll definitely look at it. At some point, we're going to get back to normal.
Great, thank you.
I agree. Yeah, me too. All right, so we have to move to the next item, which is an executive session meeting tonight, folks. I move to go into executive session for matters relating to employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representative or representatives of the body or agency, in order to protect the district's right to the confidentiality of its negotiating position and the public interest. In addition to the board, the superintendent, assistant superintendents, director of special education, board attorney are invited to our meeting. The open meeting will this open meeting will resume in the boardroom at,
Let's go 30 minutes.
okay, so that would be, I'm going to add on 5 for restroom breaks, at 8:15. Yep. 8:15, okay. Do I have a second to my motion?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion passes 6-0. Board be back here in, what, 5 minutes? Okay.
Wahoo.